Imagine waking up in the morning in an apartment that does not belong to you. You cannot buy it, sell it, or exchange it without an official's permission. You did not choose its location, size, or neighbors. You are not even sure the water will be on at this hour, because supplies are sometimes cut off outside designated mealtimes. You also cannot look out the window without the awareness that someone outside may be watching your stairwell right now. Such a morning is everyday life for the average resident of North Korea. That is, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. And before you even step out the door, your home already says absolutely everything about you: who you are, how much you are worth in the eyes of the state, and whether you can sleep peacefully. Let us begin with something that is obvious where we are: the right to have a place you can call your own. In North Korea, private residential property does not officially exist. All buildings belong to the state, and citizens are assigned to them. You do not buy an apartment, you do not sign a lease, and you do not negotiate terms. You get a unit because you work at a specific factory, institution, or military unit, and you live there as long as that job ties you to it. Changing jobs, which also happens by assignment, is supposed to result in an immediate move to another unit, near the new workplace. This rule has a purpose. Concentrating people from the same workplace in one area encourages them to watch one another. It is not an accident, it is a mechanism. Of course, as in every totalitarian system, reality and official doctrine diverge at some point. Alongside the assignment system, there has for years been a black market for housing, which is in practice tolerated by the authorities, probably because many party notables obtain their own homes in similarly illegal ways. To buy an apartment on the black market, you have to bribe an official who changes the entry in the tenant register or approves a fictitious exchange of units between two families. For a good apartment in central Pyongyang on this illegal market, one pays as much as $100,000. Apartments in prefabricated blocks outside the capital cost 10 to 20 times less, but their standard is correspondingly lower as well. Now imagine that you actually already have your apartment. Where are you? That depends on something that in North Korea determines every aspect of life, from birth to death. It is the class system called Songbun. It is a hereditary three-tier hierarchy of loyalty divided into 51 subgroups, classifying citizens according to how their ancestors behaved toward the regime. If your grandparents fought on the communist side during the Korean War, you are in the loyal class, the one that makes up about 28% of society and has access to the best housing, education, and jobs. If, however, someone in your family had ties to Japan, religion, South Korea, or capitalism, your songbun is low and nothing will help you, neither hard work, nor ability, nor years of loyalty. Your ancestors' past becomes your sentence. Songbun also has very concrete geographic consequences. Only citizens from the highest castes are permitted to live in Pyongyang, the capital and showcase of the regime. Belonging to the hostile class can mean forced residence in remote, infrastructure-poor provinces. Let us assume, however, that you are lucky and belong to the loyal class and live in Pyongyang, your apartment in a prefabricated block, because most capital residents live in apartment blocks. Average is 40 square meters and consists of 2 rooms, a small kitchen, and a bathroom. That is what the standard looked like, which in the second half of the 1970s, Mao Zedong criticized as too high for a country that was meant to be only a strategic buffer in the conflict with the Western world. Kim Il-sung got his way, and thanks to Chinese and Soviet funds, built entire districts of apartment blocks. For a time, the apartments were even fully furnished and handed over to tenants turnkey. Those moving in brought only clothes and personal belongings. There is, however, one problem with that era. Most of those blocks have not been thoroughly renovated since then. Now go inside. The first thing you see in the hallway, or rather, the first thing you must see, because its absence carries serious consequences, is the leaders' portraits. Every room in every home and workplace in North Korea is required to contain an image of Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il. The condition of these portraits is regularly checked by officials. They must be clean, intact, and placed in the proper location. If a portrait is damaged, even by fire or flood, the citizen is legally obliged to save the leader's image before saving their own life or property. One witness testifying before a UN commission described a case in which his father was sent to prison solely for wiping up a spilled drink with a newspaper that had the leader's face on it. Portraits are not decoration. They are proof of loyalty, and lacking them can ruin an entire family. Let us return to the inside of the apartment. The living room, if we can call the main room that, is modestly furnished. The basic furniture you received with the allocation or inherited from previous tenants is nothing special. On the wall hangs the mandatory portrait, and often a propaganda poster or a quotation from a leader's speech. There is a television set, an important item of equipment, but it receives only 2 state channels. No foreign stations, no internet. Access to the global network is reserved for a narrow elite. Everyone else uses the intranet, a closed national network containing only content approved by the party. A radio is a standard fixture, but you have no way to change the station. A loudspeaker tuned to the state frequency hangs on the wall and broadcasts. You can turn it down, but not off. The kitchen is a small functional space. Cooking here is done on gas or electricity, if there happens to be electricity. And electricity is a serious problem in North Korea. According to satellite data, at night the country is practically a black spot on the map of East Asia. Beside the brightly lit South Korea and China, it looks like an abyss. Power outages are the norm even in Pyongyang, and outside the capital, almost the rule. That is why many families stockpile food, candles, and other emergency supplies. In the countryside, the situation is extremely difficult. Many homes are not connected to the power grid at all. The traditional heating system in Korea is ondol, that is, underfloor heating. In the countryside version, wood-fired from the kitchen stove, and in the urban version, using hot water or electricity. The problem is that officially only 4% of apartments and homes were heated by a central system. The rest had to manage on their own. The bathroom. This is where another dimension of the problem begins. According to data from the 2008 census, over 40% of North Korean families did not have access to a flush toilet. In rural areas, that figure exceeded 54%. Water in the taps is sometimes supplied only at set times, in the morning at breakfast, at noon, and in the evening. Therefore, a common practice is to store water in bathtubs, bowls, and any available containers. If you forget to fill the bathtub at the right moment, you simply end up without water. In the provinces, the matter is simpler. There is simply no sewer system there. Your apartment has one more detail that has no equivalent in our block: the possibility of an unexpected visit. At any moment, a representative of the Inminban, the neighborhood watch, may knock on your door. This is a locally organized network of groups usually consisting of between 20 and 40 households, headed by a designated supervisor, usually a woman. Her job is to keep track of everyone living in her assigned area, monitor visits, record overnight stays by guests, check leaders' portraits, and verify whether household members are attending the required ideological sessions. Any deviation from the norm should be reported immediately. In March 2025, the North Korean authorities convened a special meeting of neighborhood watch heads from across the country for the first time in 18 years, in order to strengthen the system's ideological determination. The Inminban is not a relic of the past. It is a living, evolving mechanism of control. A guest in your home is a topic that in itself deserves special attention. You cannot simply invite someone to stay the night without reporting it to the Inminban. Every overnight stay by a person outside the household must be recorded. Traveling to another city, even to relatives, requires a special travel permit. Traveling within one's own country without documents is illegal and carries serious consequences. Traveling abroad is practically available only to elites and selected workers sent abroad by the state. Staying abroad without the regime's permission is treated as desertion. All of this that I have described so far concerns the average Pyongyang resident with a decent songbun. Now think about the countryside. If you live in the provinces, the conditions are radically different. Rural homes usually have neither sewerage, nor central heating, nor reliable access to electricity. Reporters and the few tourists who manage to cross the border describe rural North Korean architecture as a sight from the 19th century. Oxen instead of tractors, hand-farm tools, homes without running water, roads kicking up clouds of dust. The difference between Pyongyang and the rest of the country is vast, and it is a planned, deliberate policy of the regime. The capital is meant to be a showcase, the rest need not be. The paradox is that even in Pyongyang, not everything shines as it does in propaganda videos. New apartment blocks, built in haste by unskilled workers, often including students, are not known for their quality of workmanship. Stories circulate that tenants assigned to new units do everything they can to stay in their old apartments because the new ones raise serious safety concerns. The new buildings have 40 floors each, and power outages mean that elevators become traps. Many prefab blocks, which were built rapidly over decades, are now in poor technical condition, and renovation options remain limited by sanctions, lack of materials, and chronic underfunding. To fully feel what everyday life is like under one roof with the system, we have to return to self-criticism sessions. Every week, each citizen attends a mandatory meeting with their local group, during which they assess their own behavior and point out the shortcomings of others. Absence without justification carries consequences. This does not happen somewhere far away. It happens right behind your apartment door, in the immediate neighborhood, among people who know perfectly well what you have in your refrigerator and when you will be home. Every citizen must also read at least 10,000 pages of party-approved materials each year and record this in a special reading log checked monthly by a local official. Your apartment is therefore not just a place to sleep. It is an arena for daily ideological demonstration. If this material moved you, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and be sure to watch the next video.